Alright lads, it's Jamie here from Barmuggy, and in this video today we're going to be showing you 5 exercises that all calisthenics athletes should be doing but probably aren't. So the first thing we're going to do in this video today is look at posture assessment, okay? We're going to look at pelvic tilt, and we're going to look at whether you have a anterior, neutral or posterior pelvic tilt.
So the way we look at this is by getting ourselves into a side-on position. You can then check this by looking at your mirror or your phone to assess where your pelvis is. There are 3 positions your pelvis can be in. When you raise your t-shirt up, you want to check whether you are anterior, neutral or posterior.
When we look at those 3 positions for our pelvis, the one that we want to get in and be most familiar with is our posterior pelvic tilt. Okay? This position is the one where we're going to be in the most when it comes to static movements. So in order to progress in them, we need to be strong in a posterior pelvic tilt position. So the first movement we're going to look at are pelvic tilt raises. These are excellent for glute activation and getting a better awareness and understanding of how to put our pelvis into that position. The reason we look at this is because when you move into further movements and statics, we are always trying to get our pelvis into this position. So before we start looking at statics and how to progress in them, we need to get strong in this area first so that you can start to learn and understand them better as you progress in your own calisthenics training.
So for this exercise, we start with our back on the floor and knees bent. Try to push your lower back into the floor and make sure there is no arch in your back. From there, we're trying to raise just our glutes off the floor and hold the top position for a couple of seconds before returning to the start position. This is for reps, and you should aim for between 8 to 12 reps and 3 sets. The next exercise we look at is a straddle pelvic tilt plank. Instead of a normal plank position, we're trying to create a posterior pelvic tilt and get used to holding the position. So on your forearms, your feet wide, and from a neutral plank position, we then look to curve our pelvis up and create better glute activation. We want to hold this position between 15 to 30 seconds and 3 sets. Our last core or pelvic related exercise is called the dead bug. These are harder than they look. So lying flat, we start by pushing our lower back into the floor, making sure there is no gap. Then we bring our knees up and heels in line with our knees. We then pull our elbows in towards our knees but don't touch, and aim to bring our glutes as high off the floor as possible. Try to hold this for 15 to 30 seconds and 3 sets.
Okay, so after looking at our pelvis assessment, what we're going to do next is show you a really simple way of assessing your chest and your shoulders and if there's any restrictions in that area. And then after that, we're going to show you 2 movements that we use that will help you improve that area if there are any restrictions. Okay, so without trying to overcomplicate the idea of shoulder assessment or mobility assessment in overhead, what we're going to do is just show you a really simple one that you can use to give yourself an indication as to whether you may have restrictions in that area. So this one we just call the t-shirt or the thumb test. So what you're going to do is you're just going to relax your arms down by your side, and then what you're looking to see is where do your thumbs just naturally lie. So if when I relax here, they're pointing out straight, so straight towards you, then that will indicate that my restriction is limited, so that my shoulders are okay and they're potentially in a healthy range. If you do this and when you relax your arms, and the second time I go and they start to relax, and when they relax they turn in, so now I can see the outside of my hands and my thumbs are pointing towards each other, well then this might indicate that there is restriction in my shoulders or that they've started to pull forward. The other way you can check for this, so my thumbs are here and also there is a crease in your t-shirt now. So if you notice when your shoulders are back in a neutral position, there's no crease. If my shoulder is pulled forward, there's going to be a crease in the t-shirt in this area and my thumbs will be pointing forward. Okay, so if you have a go with that one, it's the quickest and easiest way to assess whether you potentially have rounded shoulders or a restriction in your overhead range.
So this movement is our version of a seated row. You start by sitting on your heels, and from here your palms face upwards, and then you draw your elbows back. You will turn to one side and breathe out. Try bring your elbows as close to each other as possible, squeezing your back. Hold here for roughly 5 seconds and then repeat on the other side. We're going to go for 5 to 10 reps and 3 sets. The next movement is zenith rotations. There's a bit of setup to these. We turn our feet out to the side and then sit back. This is to lock in our hips, and from here you place one hand on the floor and bring the other arm up with the elbow in line with the shoulder. You rotate your thumb towards the ceiling and then drive it back behind you. You follow your thumb with your eyes and then return to the start position. Our aim is for 12 to 15 reps and 3 sets.
So that was our 5 exercises that all calisthenics athletes should be doing, but probably aren't. We hope you enjoyed it. If you want any more information on any of our programs, just check the links in the description below, and we'll see you next time.